Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Owens, sir.
Evening, Jim.
A real pleasure to see you here again. You've been neglecting us lately.
Can't afford your prices, Jim.
Rockstar!
Hello, Gloria. Oh, get yourself a decent drink, widow. I'll be right back.
Another double blue label, please.
I'm afraid we're out of blue label, sir. Try the house whiskey. It's good.
Good night.
£200, Rocks, isn't it?
Is it? I'll take your word for it.
There you are, then. 200 it is. Aren't you going to count it?
Why should I? You'd never do me, would you, Henry?
I might have been tempted to if I'd known you weren't going to count it. Have a drink.
No, thanks. I'll have one with Gloria. She looks lonely out there. See you later.
There you are, Rob.
Hello, Gloria.
Good evening, Mr. Owen.
Good evening, Taps. Well, dear, what are you drinking?
Ginger ale.
Hey?
But not now you're here.
I have a bottle number 4, Taps, and a large, you got any blue label?
For you, Mr. Owen, we've got everything.
That's new, isn't it, Rox?
Not bad, eh?
Oh, it's nice. But that set you back a few hundred. Must be money in driving a cab.
Oh, not a cab, dear. Please, private hire.
I'm sorry.
You don't think I get that sort of thing out of the car hire business, do you?
I shouldn't have thought so.
No, not likely. This is where that came from.
The Blue Parrot. Mr. Owen, sir, who wants him? Who, sir? I'll tell him, sir. It's for you, Mr. Owen. I couldn't get the name.
All right, I'll take it. Hello? Who? Well, it's a bit late, isn't it? All right, just a minute. Let me get that down, will you? Yes. Well? Yeah. Okay, I'll be there. Got to love you and leave you, I'm afraid, darling. Duty calls.
What, at 2 o'clock in the morning?
Day and night service, darling, that's me.
Night-night.
It's all yours, Taps.
Thank you, sir. Morning.
Good morning.
I was wondering if you would let me have anything on a pen.
Pen? What sort of pen?
Oh, I'll show you. I've got it here. It's very unusual. Must have cost quite a bit of money.
This is a bit out of my line, you know.
Ah. It's a real stone in it. Emerald, I think.
Yes, I can see that. Do you mind my asking how you came by it?
Well, a friend of mine had it left to him. He doesn't want to sell it. It's got a sort of sentimental value to it. But you know how it is when things aren't going too good. How much could you let him have on it?
Just a moment. I'll see what my partner thinks. Inspector Harvey, please. Gordon, the pawnbroker here. Oh, is that Inspector Harvey? I've got a pen here with an emerald set in it. It looks pretty valuable to me. Is there anything like that on your list? Oh, hold on a minute, will you? Thought so.
What super? Why? You're over here, Bob, to study the incomparable organization of Scotland Yard.
Oh, I did that yesterday. Oh, sure, there are one or two details to be checked up on. But this is homicide, Chief. You can't keep me out of this.
Homicide has never been heard of in New York, I suppose.
Not where a guy gets bumped off in an English country lane, it hasn't.
They've got the identification, sir. His name was Owen, known as Rox Owen.
Cause of death, 38 caliber revolver bullet in the brain. Fired from point-blank range through the back of the head.
Yeah, and you can bet he didn't do that himself.
Whose car was it?
His own, sir. He ran a one-man private hire business.
And lived in Bassett Square. The car hire business must be looking up.
Bassett Square. High class?
Luxury class, certainly. And expensive, wouldn't you say, Quinny?
Oh, yes, sir.
Well, I better get round there. Hold the fort, Quinny.
Right, sir.
Now, let's see what's on your menu for the day, Bob. Crime index, ballistics, where'll I find you?
Where do you think? Bassett Square.
And this was his living room.
Nice living, too.
I beg your pardon?
And apart from what we've already seen, this is the only room he had.
That's right.
And I'm afraid I'll have to ask you a few questions, Mrs. West. I won't trouble you any more than I have to.
Oh, it's no trouble at all, Superintendent. If I can help, I shall be only too glad.
You say you lived here for 3 years.
Yes, and a very obliging tenant he was, too.
Did it never occur to you that it was rather an unusual thing for a man in his... Well, how should I put it? A man in his social position to be living in these circumstances? He must have paid a very high rent.
He did. And tenants like him are not easy to find these days.
No, I suppose not. Now, Mr. Owen was the owner-driver of the hired car. Do you know if he had any other source of income in his sidelines?
Not that I know of. But as you see, he always lived very comfortably.
What do you know about his private life?
I don't think he had very much.
No friends? Surely he must have entertained occasionally. Can you remember any of their names?
I only met a few, and never formally. Mr. Owen was a man who always kept himself very much to himself. I must say, the friends I met always seemed very respectable gentlemen to me.
Always gentlemen, Mrs. West. Never,
Never. He wasn't that sort of man.
What sort of man was he, Mrs. West? Shall we sit down? I think you said just now you weren't surprised when you found he hadn't been home all night. Why?
He used to stay out all night quite often. On business, I'm sure. You know, if he'd had a fare to Brighton or somewhere like that and didn't want to be bothered to drive back, he'd stay.
Funny sort of business that kept him out last night, Mrs. West, as you probably gathered. Were any telephone calls received here yesterday?
That I couldn't say. You see, he has a phone of his own. But I think most of his business was done on the spot in the West End. You know, at nightclubs and places like that.
Any particular club?
I'm afraid I've never been very familiar with nightlife, Mr. Chester.
I see. Now, your tenant had a nickname, Mrs. West. Are you familiar with that?
That was Rox, wasn't it? He always used to joke about it. Though whether all the stuff he carried around with him was real or not, I wouldn't know. It certainly wasn't in very good taste.
I think we shall find somebody thought it was real, Mrs. West. What sort of jewelry was it? Cufflinks, rings?
Yes, that's right. And he used to have tie pins and gold cigarette cases. And, oh, yes, he had a gold fountain pen with an emerald in it.
And all fake, you think?
Oh, that's only my opinion, of course.
Where did he keep all this stuff?
Oh, he always carried it around with him. What's the use of being called Roxy, he used to say, if I don't live up to my name?
Pardon me, Mrs. West. Is all this furniture yours, or did some of it belong to Mr. Owen?
Oh, it all belongs to me, except the television and that terrible picture you've been looking at. Mr. Owen bought that. I used to tell him it would look just as good upside down. And it would, too.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you.
Oh, I tell you what I'd like you to do for me, Mrs. West. While we're having a look round, do you think you could make out a list of the things that Owen usually carried about with him? You know, the pen, the gold cigarette case, and anything else you can think of.
Yes, certainly. I'll go and do it now.
Thank you. You've been most helpful. I'll call you before we leave.
Oh, if either of you'd like a cup of coffee, it'd be no trouble.
Not now, thank you. What is it, Bob? Onto something?
She's right. It would look better upside down. At least the artist thought so.
What do you mean?
Well, not even the guy who painted this would think of putting his signature upside down. If my hunch is right, and it is.
Good work, Bob.
Oxyacetylene. And not so very long ago, by the look of it.
Pretty thorough job. Where's that firm?
You know that dame's holding out on us?
Ring the bell and get that woman back. Superintendent Chester here. Give me Sergeant Quinney. You watch her carefully, Bob. I'll do the questioning. Quinney? Quinney, get the fingerprint boys around the Bassett Square. Somebody's bust open Owen's safe. Oh, and listen. It looks as though Owen picked up a fare in Soho last night. Probably one of the clubs. Find out where, when, and who, right? Bye. I'm sorry to bother you, Mrs. West.
Oh, did you do that? I do think you might have asked my permission.
I'm afraid you're jumping to conclusions, Mrs. West. You've had visitors.
Burglars? But that's impossible. I haven't been outside the door for the last 2 days.
You may not have been outside the door, but I presume you've been to bed.
Yes, but I haven't heard a sound.
You weren't intended to. You knew about that safe, of course.
Oh, naturally. It took them almost a week to install the thing. Of course I knew it was there.
And yet it didn't occur to you to tell us about it.
Oh, quite honestly, I'd simply forgotten. It's quite a time now since it was put in.
Any idea what Owen kept there?
Well, I don't think he had a bank account. He always paid with cash. So I presume he kept his money there.
I see. Well, finish making out that list, will you, Mrs. West? My assistants will be round at any minute. I'll send for you if I want you.
Oh, you don't think they'll be breaking in again, I hope?
I don't think so, Mrs. West. The cupboard's bare. Find the motive, they used to say, and you'll find the murderer. What do you make of that dame, as you call her?
Well, if I know anything about women...
Which you do.
I'd say she's too smart by half. Look, how are we going to find these respectable gents that she says she doesn't know?
I'm going to a very unrespectable neighborhood called Soho. I sent Quinney down there now. It used to be his beat. They're a tough crowd, but if anyone can make them talk, Quinney can.
Morning, Charlie.
Morning, Charlie. Cup of tea, please. Seen this?
Yeah. Anything to eat?
No thanks.
Mind you, he'd been flashing it around a bit.
I don't know. Was in our place last night.
I'd keep quiet about that if I was you.
Get off it. Know nothing, say nothing. That's me around here. Put any sugar in it.
Tomatoes, please.
Good morning.
Hello, Mr. Stevens.
Seen the papers, of course?
My landlady told me. Awful, isn't it? He was having a drink with me at 2 o'clock this morning.
That, my dear Gloria, as I may say so, is dangerous talk.
Well, shouldn't I say anything?
I wouldn't if I were you.
Photograph of the squad, 6 men. Thank you, sir. Thank you, photograph sir. Here we are. Live story of the Thank you, madam.
Piper, read about the murder. Read about the murder. Scotland Yard baffled as usual. Piper, sir?
How'd you like a clip on here, Harry?
Why, Mr. Quinney, sir, I didn't recognise you.
Oh, no, you wouldn't. What's this murder you're shouting about?
Oh, you wouldn't know about it, would you?
I wouldn't know where Rox Owen spent his last few hours, Harry. I'd very much like to. Any ideas?
Not me, Mr. Quinney. I can't help you at all.
Well, not even if I, buy a paper?
That's different. Try over the road. Piper, read about the murder.
Thank you. Read the life story of the Father of the Pounds. Thank you.
What do we know about the Blue Parrot, Quinney?
Raided once, sir, for drinking after hours, but nothing else.
Any of the staff come forward yet?
No, sir.
Well, that's nothing unusual. I wonder what's the best move. You haven't been there yet, have you, Quinney?
Oh, no, sir.
Good. Say, am I going to see one of these raids I've been reading about?
On the contrary, Bob, you're going to see a quiet bit of undercover work. There's nothing to be gained by asking at the front door of a place like this. What we want at this stage is somebody on the inside. Is McGuire free, Quinney?
Yes, I think so, sir.
Well, fix some references, fix up an introduction, anything you like. But make sure that McGuire is on the staff of that club by opening time tonight.
Right, sir.
Simple as that, eh? Who's McGuire?
One of my sergeants, and the best I've got for this kind of work.
Oh, that's a pity.
What do you mean?
Well, Super, I've been thinking that if this Sergeant McGuire needed any support, you know, second string or anything like that, well, maybe I could go along as a customer. You never know, I might be able to pick something up.
You might?
Yeah. Oh, seriously, Super, if this place is a bit shady, it wouldn't do McGuire any harm at all to have a spare rod in support.
Heavens, what are you doing with that? Didn't the customs take that thing off you?
What do you mean, take it off me? I'm over here on duty.
When in London, you must do as London does. In this country, we don't carry guns. They lead to shooting.
Super, I think your policemen are wonderful.
Maybe. And while I think of it, you won't draw any undue attention to yourself at the Blue Parrot tonight, will you?
They won't even know I'm there, Super.
You're new here, aren't you?
That's right, miss. George is the name.
Okay, George.
Does this happen often?
What?
Customers taking over the band.
Oh, he's an American. They take over anything. Haven't seen him before. He's quite attractive, though, isn't he? He's got his eye on you.
Think so?
Well, he's not looking at me. I can see that. You're not new to this lark, are you?
I should think so. Where I come from, they don't look. They grab.
Well, stop acting so simple, then, and do your stuff. And don't forget what I told you. Champagne and nothing else.
Who's that sitting over there by himself?
Oh, stop wasting your time, dear. He's been around too long. Now, if you'd been here last night, you would have met my friend Rox Owen. He was generous, all right. I shall miss him.
Has he gone away?
Did you read the papers? It was all over the front page. Somebody bumped him off.
No.
Don't say anything, because we've been told to keep our mouths shut. He was sitting here having a drink with me just before it happened. It makes you think, doesn't it? Somebody telephoned, off he went, just like that.
Really?
Brother, was that good? But I gotta catch up on my drinking. I'll see you later. Hey, Bud.
Sir?
What happened to that siphon of soda that you made me buy?
Siphon, sir? Wasn't it finished?
Now, look, Bud. It would take a week's drinking for me to finish a siphon of soda water, and furthermore, I do not pay $2 a time for a splash. Go find it, will you?
Certainly, sir.
Would you ladies care to have a drink with me?
Yes, please.
What would you like?
Champagne.
If you don't mind.
Say, what is this, a double act? Hey, that was quick.
I know what the ladies like, sir.
Yeah, so it seems. What do I owe you now?
£10, if you please, sir.
Keep the change. We might want to drink the iced water.
Thank you, sir.
Would you kids care for a cigarette?
Thanks.
Well, here's lots of fun.
Cheers.
Who signed in the American sergeant?
I did, sir. He didn't know any members.
What's his name?
Looks like Robert E. Lee, Mississippi Steamboat Corporation.
Ever seen him before?
No, sir.
Thank you, that's all.
Say, is the joint always as gay as this, or does it sometimes have people in it?
It's early yet.
But what goes on in these nightclubs? You know, back home, a night spot's a place to have fun in. What's your name, kid?
Gloria. Mrs. Marine.
My name's Bob. Yeah. Now, look, Gloria, you've knocked around a bit.
Please.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that. But can you tell me, where can a guy find himself some fun in this town? Where are the real joints? I want some excitement. Say, where's the place this chap in the newspapers used to hang out?
Roxo Inn?
Yeah. Hey, did you know him?
No.
Now what have I done?
Excuse me.
Oh, you've got yourself a customer, kid.
It would be a pleasure, but some other time. You know, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation.
Do we mind, girls? Sit down.
Thank you.
Have some liquid gold.
I gather you don't know this neighborhood very well.
I'll be broke if I get to know it any better.
I merely wanted to give you a word of advice.
What am I doing? Oh, am I in bad company?
Your health.
Good luck.
I always remember the last occasion offering an American advice. He threatened to, I think it was to bust me in the snoot.
And did he?
Luckily for me, he passed out.
Oh, that rings true.
But at the risk of having the challenge repeated, let me tell you something. Asking questions around Soho is an occupation without a future.
What do you mean?
I heard you mention an unfortunate incident reported in this evening's paper. If I were you, I'd forget I ever heard about it. Especially around here.
Now, listen.
Good night. And thank you for the drink.
Well, can you beat that? Who is that guy?
That's Mr. Stevens. He's always like that.
Stevens. Does he own the joint?
No, just one of the guests. Listen, why don't you and Maureen dance? I want to powder my nose.
How about it, beautiful? You've been very quiet. Snap out of it.
Have I?
You did yell for champagne when I asked you to have a drink.
We learn that word like a parrot.
Tell me, have you been doing this long?
Why do you ask?
Well, I wouldn't have expected.
I know. You wouldn't have expected to find a dame like me in a joint like this.
That's right. How'd you guess?
It's approach number 4. Very popular.
Oh. Which one do you recommend?
Well, you could always try the misunderstood husband.
I haven't got a wife.
Oh. You know something?
Mm-hmm.
You dance very well. It's a bad sign.
A bad sign? Of what?
I like dancing.
How's about you and me? Ducking out of here.
What for?
What do you think?
I'm not thinking anything. Besides, I'm not allowed to leave here till we close.
And what time is that?
Much too late for you. 4 o'clock. You won't mind if I go and sit at another table.
What's the idea?
Mr. Carson doesn't like us to spend too much time with the same customer.
Who the heck's Mr. Carson?
The boss. He's standing over there by the door.
There's nothing to stop me waiting until you finish, is there?
Only old age. Thanks for the champagne.
Morning, Bob. How was the Blue Parrot? Pick anything up?
Only a nice hangover, if that's anything. Whose idea was that, anyhow?
Your own. Who was there?
Ever hear of a guy called Stevens?
Mean anything to you, Quinny?
No, I don't think so, sir.
Well, there's no reason why he should. As far as I could see, he was only one of the members. Did McGuire pick up anything on him?
Not yet.
Incidentally, I want to see Maguire.
Why, what's Maguire done to you?
Only charged me 10 pounds a bottle for some jungle juice with a champagne label on it, that's all.
How did that happen, Maguire?
I think the lieutenant has me mixed up with the waiters, sir.
Holy suffering flat feet. You're Maguire?
My report, sir.
Thank you.
Super. I think your police women are wonderful. Hey, that report. Now, don't tell me that you found out anything.
Yes, sir. Rox Owen left the Blue Parrot about an hour before he was shot. He'd just received a phone call from a client, but Gloria had no idea who it was.
If Gloria told you all that, she trusts you more than she trusts me.
I can't think why. And now, sir?
Oh, I'll cover the club again tonight. If I were you, I'd get some fresh air.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I think I'll wander along.
What are you going to do?
Oh, I'm going to study the incomparable organization of Scotland Yard and get some fresh air. Hey, Sergeant, wait for me. I'll give you a lift. You know, this was a swell idea of yours.
Sugar?
Thanks.
Well, it makes a change after the Blue Parrot.
I thought we'd agreed not to discuss that subject.
Had we? I think it's very funny.
To you, maybe. Oh, did I fall for that?
Well, I'd have been very disappointed if you hadn't. It is my job, after all.
What the heck did they do to coffee in this country?
Too strong? Have some more milk.
It needs something that's solid.
After last night, I'm surprised you can taste anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a bit rough.
How much do you remember?
Not a thing. And I hope you can't either. What are you smiling at?
You? Say, honey, how's about you and I stepping out of here and finding some place?
What's wrong with that?
But that was mild compared to some of the suggestions you made. Do you always behave like that with strange women?
Shall I tell you something?
Do?
You're the only girl I've met over here that I've really wanted to get to know.
You must be slipping.
No, seriously, I mean it.
I believe you. How long have you been here?
And what's more, I don't think it's any different with you either. How's about that green light you were flashing when I was on the drums?
That is what is known as realistically acting the part.
Was it?
Well, it was either you or one of those bores up from the country. And if somebody had to breathe down my back, it might as well have been you as anybody else.
Say, kid, you must stick around. That sort of talk is so good for my ego. Let's have dinner this evening.
I can't this evening, I'm afraid.
Boyfriend? But another date?
Yes. With some sleep. I have to work tonight.
And how about tomorrow night?
We'll see.
Say, what does a guy have to do to get someplace with you English
What happened
girls?
to your Blue Parrot technique?
All right, you've asked for this. Wait till tonight.
By the way, whom do you think killed Rox Owen?
Oh, miss, could I have a check? I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a bargain with you. I find the murderer, you have dinner with me. How's that?
Scotland Yard or the FBI? That should be fair enough.
Then it's a deal?
It's a deal.
Short, dark with sallow complexion, scar on left cheek, thought to be a foreigner, age middle 30s, might be a waiter. That's all, sir.
Was there anything else you noticed about him? Any peculiarities? A mannerism or anything?
Yes, there was. He was a very nervous sort of chap. Kept tapping the counter with his fingers all the time.
Would you recognize him again?
Without a doubt, sir.
Hello, Bob. Didn't expect you back today. Have a good lunch?
I got a complaint to make. Sergeant Maguire is definitely anti-American.
It's just as well. Mr. Gordon, I want you to wait here. It's a chance in a million, but it might come off. Come on, Bob. Quickly, look after Mr. Gordon, will you?
Okay, sir. Have I been missing out on something?
Maybe.
I'd say larceny is the best bet, sir. Look at this lot.
Quite a popular pastime, isn't it? However, let's get on with it. Set for hair, dark, sallow complexion, medium build, age about middle 30s. How does this compare with the ones in New York, Bob?
Well, I hate to admit it, but they're identical, I think.
Thank you.
Ours are bigger.
Yes, they'd have to be, wouldn't they? How many you got there?
I'd say 50 or 60, sir.
All right, let's try alien. Scar on left cheek. Sorry to keep you waiting, Mr. Gordon, but we've had so little to go on, as you know.
Oh, that's all right, sir. I only hope you'll find him.
Well, we'll see. Take a look at those photographs, will you?
No. Doesn't look as though he's here, sir. Hey, wait a minute. This looks like him.
It does?
Yes, that's him, sir. I'd know him again in 1,000.
Guido Campelli, eh? Sergeant Quinney, get me my car.
Right, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gordon. You've helped us a lot.
Carla, the girl with a gun. Well, we certainly bought that one.
Who are you?
Sorry, miss. Our mistake. Would you like me to go out and come in again?
What do you want?
Now, don't be alarmed. We're police officers. You were practicing, I presume.
Well, what did you think I was doing?
Is Taps Campelli here?
No, he isn't.
Are you his wife?
No, I'm not.
But he lives here, eh?
Yes, but not in that way he doesn't.
Sorry, miss. No offense. Which is his room?
The door opposite.
Quinney.
Right, sir.
I'm afraid I'll have to ask a few questions. Would you like to sit down?
No, thanks.
When did you last see Campelli?
Yesterday morning.
You haven't seen him since?
No,
Do you know where he is or when he's likely to be back?
he didn't say. He just packed the bag and left.
Without saying where he was going? It's rather hard to believe, isn't it?
If he'd wanted me to know, he would have told me.
And what reason would he have for not wanting you to know?
Well, he got in a bit of trouble with the police once before. I thought perhaps he was in trouble again.
He is? Well, I'm afraid it's more than a bit of trouble this time, miss.
What is it?
It's murder.
Murder? I don't believe you. You're just saying this to frighten me. Well, Taps wouldn't hurt anybody.
If you're so sure of that, why don't you tell me where he is?
But I tell you, I don't know.
What range do you do this from, Annie Oakley?
Oh, about 7 paces. That's all there's room for in here. In the act, it's 20.
Oh, that's pretty good shooting with, what is it, a 45?
Well, sort of. It's one made specially for the show.
Ah. Did you ever try using anything else, 38?
No, I never tried with anything else.
Does your boyfriend like shooting?
Who, Taps? Don't be silly. You couldn't get him near a gun for love nor money. Hey, wait a minute. You're not thinking that Taps has been using a gun, are you?
What's so funny about that?
Well, you'd think it was funny, too, if you knew him as well as I do. Well, he's scared to death. I can't even practice when he's around. He won't even stay in the same room with a gun. You don't believe me, do you? Well, ask anybody. We used to tour together once in the same show. And do you know where he used to be when my act was on? Hiding in the dressing room. No, Inspector, somebody's been having you on.
Have you ever heard of a man called Rox Owen?
Well, that's him in all the papers, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, your friend Taps Campelli tried to pawn a valuable pen yesterday morning. It was Rox Owen's pen.
Well, maybe found it in the street or something. Or in the club.
Club, did you say? What club?
Well, the Blue Parrot Club, of course. He works there.
You've got to admit it, Super. It sure is a darn small world.
Oh, thank you, miss. Sorry to have butted in. Any luck, Quinney?
No, sir.
Well, come on, Bob.
Bye.
Mr. Carson. This way, please.
I wonder what the CID are after.
Police?
Aye.
Well, what makes you think they're police?
When you've been a lawyer as long as I have, lassie, you develop a nose for them.
In a place like Soho, Mr. Chester, you learn to mind your own business. It's healthier. Yes, Rox Owen was here. I was probably one of the last to see him alive.
What time did he leave?
Oh, I should say about 2 a.m.
Was he alone?
As far as I know, yes. But the doorman will tell you more about that.
Yeah. I'll talk to him later. How well do you know Owen?
In business, very well. In fact, he provided some of the capital to start this place.
Ever visit his flat, Mr. Carson?
No, never.
What other interests had he, besides his car hire business?
Well, I should think he had a finger in everything. There's a profitable little business round here dealing in goods which I believe you gentlemen call hot.
And what do you call it, Mr. Carson?
Stolen property.
Yeah. Any idea how much money he had on him when he was here?
£200 more than he might have done if I'd known what was going to happen to him.
You mean you paid him £200, just like that?
Yes, it was the last payment on the loan I mentioned.
Anybody else know about this money you paid him? Anyone at the club?
I doubt it. But £200 was nothing unusual for Rocks to carry around. I'd known him have much more than that in his pocket, and everybody else would have known about it, too.
Was any of this £200 drawn from the bank?
Unfortunately, no, and I've no record of any serial numbers or anything else.
Was he friendly with anyone else here? Any of the hostesses?
I think Gloria was about the only one he had anything to do with.
Who's Gloria?
She's my senior hostess. Now, I come to think of it, I believe she mentioned he had a drink with her before he left.
Call her in, will you? Don't go too far, though. I might want to talk to you again.
Okay.
I think you'd better have a drink, darling. It'll help to settle your nerves.
Here it comes.
Oh, why, Gloria. And remember, little girls speak only when they're spoken to. That's all.
How about Campelli, sir? Are you dropping it?
There's plenty of time. I'm not going to rush things. It'll come up.
Here she is.
Come in, Miss Gloria. Sit down, won't you?
Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Carson tells me he had a drink with Roxanne the night he was here. Is that so?
That's right.
Did he pay for it?
Well, I didn't.
Did you happen to notice how much money he had with him?
No. But he was always over generous with it.
Easy come, easy go. How long did he stay?
Oh, not long. He was called away on business.
Oh, was he? What sort of business, do you know?
Something to do with his taxi, I suppose. He didn't say.
Didn't you ask?
It was nothing to do with me.
Who answered the phone? It was a phone call, wasn't it?
Yes. Taps answered it.
And who's Taps?
Taps Campelli. He's the waiter here, but he's left now.
Get Carson in.
Right, sir.
Didn't Campelli say who it was on the phone?
No. I remember now. Rox asked him who it was, and Taps said that he didn't know.
Rox went to the phone, spoke to somebody, and then left. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Did anyone else leave around about the same time?
I never noticed anybody.
Oh, Carson. I believe he had a waiter working here named Campelli.
Yes, that's right.
I was just about to ask Miss Gloria when she last saw him here.
Well, I think I can
Wait a
answer
minute,
that.
Carson. I'd like to hear what Miss Gloria has to say. When did you last see him here, Miss Gloria?
On the night of the murder. Nobody's seen him since.
Thank you. There's only one more thing I want to know before you go. Who told you not to go to the police over this?
Nobody. It'd be quite bad enough as it is. You won't catch me walking home alone for a night or two, I can tell you.
I can hardly believe that was ever necessary, Miss Gloria. That'll be all for the moment. Sit down, Carson. I want to know something. Why do I have to drag everything out of you like a bad tooth?
I think you've got me wrong, Mr. Chester. If it was important for you to know that Campelli was no longer employed here, I can only assume that you would have asked me.
It was important enough for you to conceal the fact.
Yes, it was.
What do you mean by that?
Mr. Chester, Campelli left here the night that Roxanne was murdered. I'm not surprised that you think it might have been him, but I happen to know that it wasn't. It was pure coincidence. He left town for some trivial domestic trouble. Why, then, I said to myself, allow an innocent man to be involved in murder? I kept my mouth shut.
That's all very touching, Mr. Carson. Perhaps you'll think this was a coincidence, too. 6 hours after the murder, Campelli tried to pawn a jewel pen. Rox Owen's pen.
Oh, no, I can't believe it.
I'm not interested in what you believe or what you don't believe. All I want to do is to find Campelli. Where is he?
I've no idea.
I warn you, Carson. When this case comes up for trial, I can have you treated as a hostile witness. Now, where is Campelli?
If I knew, and particularly after what you've told me, I have no hesitation in telling you, but I don't. I can tell you where he lives.
We know that already.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
All right, Quinny. Let's see that doorman. What do you make of that lock, Quinny?
Well, frankly, I don't know, sir.
I'm not sure that I do either. There's somebody behind this that we haven't caught up with yet.
Stevens?
Could be. There's a lot too much propaganda going on as to what'll happen to people if they talk. I don't like it.
Why don't we bring this fellow Stevens in for questioning, sir? He was there tonight with the Gloria woman.
He was there the night the Rocks Owen was there, too, according to the sergeant.
Yeah, and nobody saw him leave.
Nobody admits to seeing him leave, Quinny, and that's something quite different. Now, before we make a move, I'd like to know a little more about that gentleman. As soon as we get back, put somebody on his tail.
Right, sir. How about Carson?
How about him?
Well, has Campelli fooled him, or is he fooling Campelli?
Oh, we should know more about that when we find Campelli. Oh, do you realize we haven't had any sleep for 48 hours, Quinny?
Yes, sir.
Well, you needn't sound so smug about it. You're younger than I am.
You suppose the club would cash a wee cheque for me?
But of course, Mr. McKay.
Now, what's this Mr. McKay talk? I told you my name was Huey.
All right, Huey. But you better put McKay on the check. I think they'd like it better at the bank.
Get out. What sort of a mug do you take me for, Campelli?
What's the matter, Mr. Carson?
You put me on the spot with this cock and bull story of trying to dodge your wife, and like a fool I believed you. Now I find the police are after you for killing Rocks Owen.
For what? They can't be. Oh, I didn't kill him, I swear I didn't.
Well, don't lie to me again, Campelli. What were you doing, pawning Rocks Owen's jewelry?
Well, it was only his pen, sir. I found it. Found it in the club after he'd gone. Listen, Mr. Carson, you've got to believe me.
If you think I'm going to be taken in again, Campelli, you're mistaken. Now get out of here and tell that one to the police.
Mr. Carson, you can't do that. Don't give me up, sir, please.
I would like a shot if I wasn't already in wrong by hiding you.
I know, Mr. Carson. I'll never forget
I'm giving you 5 minutes to get out of this place. What you do or where you go is your own affair.
Mr. Carson, please.
You know the way?
Very well, I'll hold on. He isn't here at the moment. No message? All right, I'll tell him. Good night.
Now, what was all that about?
Oh, it's you, Mr. Carson. I didn't hear you come in.
What are you doing here?
Mr. Mackey wanted a check cashed. I was outside the door and the phone rang.
How did you get in?
Well, through the door. Well, how else would I get in, Mr. Carson?
Never mind. I thought I'd... Where's the check? Who was that on the phone?
He didn't leave a name. Said he'd ring again.
McKay having a birthday or something?
I hoped you'd think he was enjoying my company, Mr. Carson.
I take that for granted.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Maureen. This'll keep us going for a while. Oh, waiter.
Yes, sir.
I want some cigarettes. Hello there. I'm not intruding, am I?
That depends on how long you're going to stay, my friend. Rita and I are just getting to know each other. Isn't that so, lassie?
Then you're a better man than I am.
I wouldn't be a Scotsman if I wasn't. But what are we talking about? Have a drink, man.
Well, I'll have a rye whiskey, please.
Aye. Where have you been, you rogue? Bring the gentleman the rye whiskey, and the same again for me and the lassie.
Hey, listen to that. It's no good. I've just got to get on the floor. Excuse us. What's happened?
You'll stop nibbling in my ear, I'll tell you.
Yeah, but we're being watched.
I'm not surprised. Listen, you've got to get out of here and get down to the yard. Carson's got a hideout leading off the office. I think he's got Campelli down there.
What makes you think that?
He came out with a tray.
Yeah, but that could mean almost
Please,
anything.
I can't explain now. There isn't time. You've got to get out.
Yeah, but how can I do that without arousing suspicion?
Like this.
Hey!
You can find somebody else to dance with if that's the way you want to behave. And not here either. This is a respectable club. Who do you think you are, I should like to know?
What sort of joint is this anyway?
Come on, sir. Now, we don't want any trouble, do we now?
Now, what's going on here?
I'm sorry, Mr. Carson. That American was getting fresh.
All right, just a minute. All right, everybody, all right. You better sit down, Marie.
Stick to me, dear. I'm old enough to be your father.
Light taps?
Yes, sir.
Driver didn't have a chance, officer.
All right, Quinny, stay there and they let him talk. I don't care. Tell the house surgeon he's got to cooperate. It's urgent.
How is he?
Pretty bad.
If only I had Maureen's tip-off half an hour earlier.
Wouldn't have made the slightest difference, Bob. He was out of the place already. The important thing is we've got him and we've got the gun.
You know, that's something I'm never going to understand. The girl said he was gun-shy. It rang awful true to me. Yet here he is with a .38 in his pocket. I don't get it.
Chester here. Oh, that's different, is it? Good. Now, what about fingerprints? Is that so? Right, thanks. Ballistics. That was a gun, all right. There's no doubt about it. But what I don't understand is there's no sign of any fingerprints.
Well, how did it get in his pocket? He hadn't even got a handkerchief on him.
That's right, he hadn't.
So little Annie Oakley could be right after all. And if Campelli is allergic to guns...
I wonder if you're thinking the same thoughts as I'm thinking.
I shouldn't be at all surprised.
And what are we waiting for? Phillips?
Yes, sir.
Get hold of the man that's taking Stevens and tell him to find out where he is. And don't waste any time, it's urgent. And get my car around right away.
Oh, brother, not even the commissioner himself could keep me out of this little party.
Say when, darling.
When, darling? Now, this is definitely my last.
Cheers.
Yes.
Who the devil can that be?
Must be one of the tenants. It's the radio, I expect.
morning.
It is rather late, but our business is important. We're police officers.
Yes, I know. Come in.
Good evening, Mrs. West.
Oh, good evening, Mr. Chester. How did you get into the house?
The front door was open, eventually. Mrs. West, I wonder if you mind.
Of course. Oh, I'll look into that little matter first thing in the morning, Mr. Stevens.
Oh, thank you. Good night, Mrs.
Good night.
Do sit down. I'll get you a drink. Or is that against the rules?
We're here on duty, if that's what you mean, Mr. Stevens, and the sooner we get down to it, the better.
As you wish.
How long have you been living in this flat?
As a matter of fact, I've just moved in.
Pretty quick, wasn't it? With Owen only dead a matter of hours?
Accommodation in London, Mr. Chester, is a problem one can't afford to be over-sentimental about.
Isn't the sentiment that worries me? The time it apparently took you to find out it was vacant. Have you known Mrs. West long?
No longer than I've occupied the apartment. Why?
Well, for one thing, I should have thought service at this time of night, if it was service you were getting, was usually reserved for a more intimate relationship. However, you've never been here before.
No. Well, what's this all about?
All in good time, Mr. Stevens. At the moment, I'm asking the questions, and all I want from you is the answers. How well do you know Guido Campelli?
How well do we know anyone, Mr. Chester? To me, he was just a waiter from the Blue Parrot Club.
When did you last see him?
Haven't you heard? Only a few hours ago, he was knocked down by a cab in Seymour Street. I've just phoned the hospital. He's pretty badly hurt.
Why are you so concerned if you hardly knew him?
That's quite simply accounted for. I happened to be passing Seymour Street when the accident occurred. I recognized the poor devil immediately and quite naturally.
Just a minute, Mr. Stevens. And he recognized you, do you think?
What do you mean?
We have reason to believe that Campelli suddenly got into a panic before he fell under that cab. He was running away from somebody. Somebody had scared him.
That's very interesting, no doubt. Why should Campelli be scared of me?
That is precisely what I want to find out. Do you wear gloves?
More often than not.
You consider Campelli the sort of man that might wear gloves?
Well, how on earth should I know what he'd wear? I tell you, I hardly know him.
Then I don't suppose you know anything about the gun that was found on him either. A Smith & Wesson .38, for instance.
Listen, Chester, I don't know what you're getting at, but guns are not in my line. They're dangerous.
This one was, certainly. It killed Rox Owen.
That's bad.
It is. But also interesting, don't you think? Because although Campelli wasn't wearing gloves, the gun that was found in his pocket was without the sign of a fingerprint. Now, how do you think it got there, Mr. Stevens?
Your methods are very ingenious, aren't they, Mr. Chester? But why did we come to the point?
Yes, why not? Where were you on the night that Rox Owen was murdered?
Do I have to answer that question?
It'll save you and me a lot of trouble if you do.
It might also make you appear rather ridiculous. However, if you insist, I'll tell you. After leaving the Blue Parrot Club, I spent the rest of the night at the Savile Row police station. In a cell.
I see. And what was the charge?
Drunk and incapable. But being my one and only offense, I was let off with a fine, a mere £2.
And who's being ingenious now, Mr. Stevens?
Would you like to ring up the station and have my story confirmed?
You're very clever, Stevens. So for £2, you bought yourself an alibi for a crime that paid off $5,000 or $6,000.
You dirty crook. You told me that jewelry was faked and all he had on him was £200.
Shut up, you fool, you're drunk.
Not that drunk, I'm not. You can't double-cross me and get away with it.
All right, Mrs. West, I think we'll all go along to the yard. I'll give you 5 minutes to get ready.
Come in.
Sorry, Mr. Carson. It's a bottomless pit.
McKay again?
Afraid so.
You'll have a nice bit of commission piling up out of this, won't you?
Yes, but is it worth it?
See who it is, will you?
Yes? Who wants him? Just a moment. Somebody called Charlie.
Right. Well, sit down.
Thank you.
Carson here. One of the boys just been in, Mr. Carson. They picked up Stevens and that woman of his for the Owen job. And you know that new hostess of yours? She's a copper. Tony says he's seen her in court once.
All right. So, Thanks, Charlie. You know, Maureen, I think your friend, Mr. McKay, is going to be out of luck this time.
What do you mean? Are they bouncers?
Oh, no, it isn't that. I just haven't got time to deal with it. And neither of you, Constable. Or is it Sergeant? Go on, get up. I must say you played your part very well, Marine. Get over by that safe. It's a pity it has to end like this. But I'm in a hurry, and there's no time for any ceremony. I'm going to get you at arm's length before I get out of this place.
So Roxanne was blackmailing you both, eh?
If you say so, Mr. Chester.
I was under the impression that you didn't want to talk without a lawyer, Stevens. However, if you change your mind, perhaps you'll tell me this. When you made that phone call to the
Who
Blue
said I made a phone call?
Mr. Stevens, you may have fooled Roxanne, but you did not fool Taps Campelli. Unfortunately for you, he recognized your voice.
No doubt you think you're smart, Stevens. Taps Campelli out of the way and the gun planted on him, you thought you were safe.
Yeah, he was in for the same treatment as Roxanne, but the accident did the job for you.
But not as efficiently as you might have done it. He's alive and ready to give evidence against you. The game's up, Stevens. You might as well know it.
You forget one important factor, Mr. Chester.
My alibi?
I don't forget anything, Mr. Stevens, as you're very soon going to find out. Quinny, make out a charge for the pair of them. Conspiring to commit a felony resulting in murder.
Right, sir.
You can't do this. I didn't do it. I had nothing to do with the shooting.
I'm afraid that makes very little difference, Mrs. West. When two or more people plan to commit a murder, they're all equally guilty. That is the law.
I knew this would happen, you bungler. I never wanted to have anything to do with it in the first place. Mr. Chester, if I turn King's evidence...
I think you mean Queen's evidence.
Keep your mouth shut.
I'll do nothing of the sort. All right, Mr. Chester. If I do that, does that mean they'll let me off?
It depends on circumstances outside my control. I can only say that any assistance you might give us will be reported to the proper authorities.
Very well, then I'll chance it.
You don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yes, I do. You're quite right, Mr. Chester. He made the phone call. And it was he who got Roxanne to go out into the country, and then he went and got himself arrested as an alibi.
While someone else hid in the back of the car, I presume.
That's right. And it wasn't Taps Campelli either.
Who was it, then?
It was Carson.
Carson. Then how come he was in Soho to close the club?
He had a motorbike hidden on the spot. He got back in time.
Pearson, look after these two.
Yes, sir.
Quinny, get a patrol car to the Blue Parrot and tell them to stand by till I get there. Thank you, Mrs. West.
Hey, what about Maureen?
What about her, Bob?
Well, she's in a tough spot, isn't she?
Well, what are you waiting for? Let's go.
This reminds me of home.
You'd better off it quick, Mr. Carson. They're here.
He hasn't come out yet, sir.
Good. All right, bring that away.
Robert E. Lee. Where's Maureen?
That's what I'd like to know. She got a check of mine. Went into Constance a quarter of an hour ago.
He's got Maureen in there.
It's all yours.
Come on, Quinny. The safe. Maureen was right. I'll bet my bottom dollar the way out is through here.
Jenkins, get to work on it.
Yes, sir.
I wonder where it leads to. Where's the El Fresco Cafe?
Just across the road, sir.
Thanks. Well, what do you want? Do you mind if I have a look at your cellar?
Yes, I do.
This is important.
Oh, no, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do. Sorry, pal.
I apologize, Marine, for this rather crude behavior of mine. But it's your own fault, you know. You were getting to know more than was good for you. The trouble is, how long will they be finding you? That safe of mine's rather ingenious, don't you think? Well, arrivederci. Sleep well. Copper.
Try that door.
Lock, sir.
Lock?
Yes.
Is that you, Charlie?
That's you, Carson. You've had it. You might just as well come.
I warn you, Chester, I've got the girl here. Try to rush me and she'll get it first.
How do I know she's there? Get back and phone for more men, and they better be armed.
Call out you're here and don't play any tricks.
Why should I?
You do as I say. Call out.
Don't worry about me. Get...
You heard that, Chester? I'll give you 10 seconds from now. Chester, why don't you answer? 1, 2, 3, 4.
How do I know I can trust you?
You don't, Chester, but I'm counting. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What about it, Chester?
Okay, McGuire?
Yes, sir.
Take him away, Quinny.
Come on, Mr. Carson.
How the blazes you get here, Bob?
Same place Campelli appeared out of. The El Fresco Cafe across the street. Incidentally, the guy that owns the joint must be just about coming to by now. Somebody ought to see about him.
All right, I can take a hint. You all right, McGuire?
I was, sir, till now.
I'll leave a card outside for you both. See you later, Bob. And thanks.
Wow. There's ingratitude for you. All right till now.
Well, wasn't I?
You don't think that I'm the sort of guy that would take advantage of a girl when she's all tied up and helpless?
No.
You don't sound very sure about it.
Oh, but I am. I'm sure you wouldn't dream of it.
Then you're crazy.
Let me up. Will you please untie my hands?